how your mind sabotages weight loss and health. So nobody talks about this. It's usually like you're doing yoga and you're going into that spiritual, sometimes woo-woo realm, or your fitness hardcore, exercise, eat perfect, nobody's kind of bridging that gap. Your mind, though, is without the mind on your side, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to be healthy long term, without the mind on your side as an ally, it's going to fight you forever. And there is quite literally nothing you can do outside of it in your external world or externally that can mitigate the damages that a monkey mind or anxiety or stress is going to do to your health and to your waistline. This is irrefutable, right? And for a lot of people that struggle with like the last 10 pounds or last this or that, whatever, mind is usually what they need to overcome, okay? Now, I've heard some people, I don't remember when I heard this, but it was something to the effect of like every time you get angry or somebody cuts you off in traffic or whatever, it's like taking a bite of a candy bar because of the cortisol response. And I even believe you do spike a little bit of insulin. It's interesting how the different hormones will happen that way. But if you think about it, you can get angry. Your body can create a hormonal response in your body, just like when you eat food, right? Think about that. Like that's insanity. It's insane that that's how the human body works, but this is how it does. We tend to only think about tactile things. If I eat food, it goes in my body, I get an internal response, and I either ate good food and I'm losing weight, or I ate bad food and I'm not, or I fasted and I'm losing weight or whatever. But everything, even fasting, does things to your hormones, right? Just the act of not eating does things to your hormones. Taking a walk does things to your hormones. Exercise does things to your hormones, okay? So how you think absolutely controls your hormones. There's books written about this, why zebras don't get ulcers. It's kind of like the standard book on, like chronic stress. And I'm not really talking about that today, but it is all connected. So what I'm going to do is give you some strategies, some tangible things you can do to try to mitigate some of the mental burden that comes from being anxious, being monkey mind, as the Buddhists say, where you're bouncing around all the time and you're like constantly switching, right? Earlier today, I was dealing with a bad internet connection. I had this app I was trying to get a document signed for that was just failing. I guess the server was down. I tried 2 computers, and then I was looking at my phone. Somebody needed it, and then somebody else needed something else. And my entire morning routine was ruined. And it was really getting to me. I was getting to the point where like, okay, breathe, breathe. Like I can feel myself welling up, getting to that point. And I eventually just said, you know what? I'm not doing this right now. Like I'm going to take a break. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to try it later. Maybe it'll fix itself. And I just had to do that. Okay. So no matter how stoic, meditative, Buddhist you think you are, no matter how calm you think you are, there's always going to be points in life where our mental peace of mind is going to be disturbed. Okay. And really, this is also a broader topic that's worth talking about. It's the idea that most of us pursue money and accomplishment and things like that as a means to find happiness and fulfillment. When really what most of us want is peace of mind. We want peace of mind from, the fear of not having money to pay our bills, whatever. Like there's a certain amount of money that you get to that a lot of research shows you that when you get to that number, which is like $75,000 a year or something like that, like US, when you get to that number, above that, it doesn't really help you. It doesn't make you happier, right? Below that though, because you can have money problems, which are very stressful for all of us. When you go to a certain level below that number and you have money problems and bills and this and that and taxes, like it's usually poverty and or lack of money that causes a lot of stress. But when you go beyond a certain amount, you don't get like increased happiness as a result. And so what you see is people become addicted to making money, and then they end up being miserable. Then they turn to like drugs and alcohol and other things like that. And we won't get into that today. So this is about some strategies for controlling your mind and thinking about how it's connected to your weight loss efforts, right? Because a lot of you that watch this channel, and I appreciate every single one of you. I don't say it enough, but I really do. It's humbling and crazy and even makes me emotional to think like, you watch the videos and I don't know. Never really thought about it that way actually. But you're probably watching this video because something diet related, exercise related, and you want to, get somewhere, or you want to not go back to your old self 20 pounds heavier, whatever. So you're constantly on the lookout for things and, working on how you think about this stuff and whatever. And a lot of what I focus on is like obviously in the kitchen, food and what you're eating. But this is one of those things that is just it's such a big topic, and it really, it infects everything in our life. So I shouldn't say infect. I guess it can infect if it's negative, but I mean affects everything in our life. So let's get some strategies to think about this. Keep in mind that you're going to have to do a lot of your own trial and error research. I would read books on this stuff. I would listen to podcasts, audiobooks. A really good book I'm listening to right now is Direct Truth. The Naval Ravikant podcast with Tim Ferriss is good. Every time I listen to him, I'm like, he's kind of the epitome of a guy that made a bunch of money and then now has kind of devoted his life to a simple peace of mind, like not trying to pursue more fame, more money, whatever. And I just really like internally aspire to that myself because I do get caught up in the pursuit and I always want to do more. And I want to make a difference and I enjoy what I do. But, I have 2 kids now, and there's a point where some days I just feel like I don't spend enough time with my son. And now I'm going to have 2 sons that are of age to spend time with, whereas, one's a newborn, so there's only so much I can do. But I don't want to be that person that just becomes blind with success and pursuit anyways, I know. I digress. All right, so let's get to the next point. How do we get to the next slide here? Okay, it didn't show up. Is it down? There we go. All right, meditate and or practice some kind of mindfulness. So no one talks about this for weight loss, but here's the thing. Chronic stress that comes from an overactive mind, a monkey mind as the Buddhists say, completely destroys your weight loss efforts and also your health. If you are one that is easily anxious or always worrying, the single most impactful thing you can do for life in your waistline is engage in some mental maintenance strategies. This cannot be overstated. All right, so now because I don't want this video to be too long, I already preambled quite a bit. Let's get to the list. All right, strategies. 1, meditate. Now, I actually had a revelation with this because I've always been one that I've understood meditation. I can do breath meditation. I've never been one to sit down for like 30 to 60 minutes. Even like 5 minutes sitting like on a bed with my eyes closed just feels kind of, I don't know. I probably should do that, but there's a lot of different ways to do this. And a recommended resource that I recommend every single one of you go listen to right now is the Naval Ravikant episode on the Tim Ferriss Show, the podcast. It just came out. Naval's only been on the show one other time. The first episode was amazing, and he doesn't do a lot of podcasts. He's kind of a little bit of a recluse, but it's amazing. So he actually talks about this form of meditation where he learned it from a teacher, and it just was very impactful for him. And he's obviously known about meditation and probably practiced different things and like mantras and things like that. But the teacher told him that all you do basically is once a day for 60 minutes is you just sit down and you do nothing. Right? If you're going to be joyful about something, if you're going to work through a problem and you want to think about it, if you kind of go into it with no goal so that whatever happens, happens. And he talks about how it's the most profound thing he does every single day, how it's made him internally peaceful, how he has it's helped him remove external desires and whatever. And, it may work for you, may not, but I really like the idea of instead of having like 60 minutes where I'm trying to focus on not thinking, which is basically the antithesis to meditation, is we get obsessed with like, are we doing it right? Are we not? And that's a lot of the problem people have with meditation is it becomes the opposite of what you're trying to achieve. You're trying to not have goals with something like meditation. You're trying to not force things. You're trying to be natural and in the moment and present. And the second thoughts come in about, I'm not doing it right, I'm this or whatever, you're failing, right? So I like this idea. Maybe you sit in your room. Maybe you just lay on the ground even, just close your eyes. Maybe you sit with your back against the wall. I like to actually lay down in the corner of my bed and I put my feet up because it's good for my back and things like that. You just do nothing. And if you want to think about something, do it. Go for it. Let your mind think about whatever comes up. I would maybe say don't go into it with a preconceived kind of thing to tackle, but maybe some days you do that, right? I think this idea of just having like a 60-minute alone time, we can even call it a thinking, not thinking time or something like that. Like some days you think, some days you don't. And most of the time you just go into it with no goal. You let your brain do what it needs to do. The brain works out through some subconscious stuff and then bam, you're good to go. I just think I haven't even done this yet actually. But I'm excited by the prospect of it. I'm going to start doing this. And actually my version of it is probably going to be walking. So I've been talking about taking walks every day. And that's like one of my favorite things to do. And I'm going to now try to do that without taking my phone, because I would always take my phone, listen to an audiobook, listen to a podcast, whatever, maybe even call a friend. And I do like doing that. I think there's definitely time and place to do that. But I want to try to do more of like a walking meditation, a walking mindfulness, or a walking kind of do nothing where I'm still moving, getting some activity. It feels like I'm being productive. So I don't really have like a productivity angst where I feel like I'm wasting my time. And, we'll see how it goes. And that brings me to number 2. Take a 30-minute walk. And I put a note here, without music or with, mix it up. Like maybe some days you go with music or podcast or an audiobook. Some days you don't. Some days you want to walk in nature and listen to the birds chirp. Obviously walk in the park or whatever. Sometimes better than walking on the street with cars and distractions. Try to get in nature anytime you can do this. But just take a 30-minute walk is just huge. Really is, for your mental state, for your health, for weight loss efforts, everything. All right. Number 3, another strategy for this is sit outside in the sun, but instead of, again, listening to something or being on your phone, just do nothing. Just lay there. Get a tan, get some vitamin D in you, and just lay there. Right? And this could be a combination of laying in the grass or laying by the pool and or walking before and after, whatever. Like, you can kind of bundle these together. Number 4, garden. There is actually a lot of research on how good gardening is for the brain and how meditative it is and how it puts you in the moment and how like you're touching nature, interacting with nature. And we have a small garden and it's basically the end of the season, so we don't really go in there as much, but it was enjoyable. It is. It really is. And going in and like picking things off and grabbing some herbs and just like walking barefoot and, watching the bees buzz by and everything. It is very much, it's hard to describe. Like, I would just say do it. And there's a lot of research being done too. They're calling it forest bathing, where you basically go in the forest. And sometimes they say go naked, but really just going in the forest and just being there, just sitting there, is having profound effects on people with PTSD and, other people that are going through these trials. It's amazing. And it should also, though, be no surprise. We're born into a concrete jungle, yet our genes believe we're being born into the wild because that's what we're designed for and where we came from. Okay? 5, build something. So this is where we get into the realm of doing things that kind of get you into a flow state. And there's a lot of research around the flow state and how it's good for your happiness, your fulfillment, etc. When I'm feeling my best, I'm getting a lot of deep work done. It's my version of the flow state, or I'm a couple of games I play when I have time. I play those, and those kind of put me into a flow state, and they make me focus. And so there's a lot of benefits showing how just even sometimes focusing on one thing at a time, and it removes you from the constant task switching, and there can be a lot of benefits to that as well. So I had a treehouse I was working at the beginning of the pandemic, and I built the platform and everything, and I went out there every day, and while I was out there, and I'm just like focused on what I'm doing, cutting wood, sawing, drilling, hammering, whatever, I was supremely in the moment, and I was getting some vitamin D. I was getting outside, and it felt good. And I just like, if you're not building things with your hands, maybe a hobby, maybe you're painting models or something, like, you're really missing out. I feel like it is one of those things that as we move more into a mental world and a digital world, I feel like our hands connecting to something tactile, tangible, is going to more and more be something that we need to remind people to do, because it is so beneficial for the mind, for fulfillment, for happiness. All right. Number 6, do yoga. Yep. That's pretty much all I'm saying that. I don't do it as much as I should. I like it. You can do it at home. I actually like going to class because I do get pushed a little bit more and I get forced to do it. So, I need to add that back to my routine for sure. Number 7, play video games intensely and on purpose rather than filling time. So here's the thing with this. Like, obviously you can go too far with this. You can play games. It could be a distraction. It can be an escape. I mean, set time where you're going to play like this word game or this, or maybe even play, a game with friends and family. That's a very good thing that really focuses your attention, and it's also very enjoyable. Pick a game that you enjoy that helps you get into that deep, concentrated flow state, play intensely for a set period of time, and then stop playing, go back to life, right? This is extremely, extremely beneficial habit, if you will. If you can use it, I shouldn't even say habit. It's kind of habit. It's a on-purpose habit rather than just like mindless playing games and whatever, like kind of searching to fill time. That's not really where you want to go with it, because that can lead to its own problems. All right. Last point for today to help you with your mind and controlling and weight loss and health and whatever you want to do is journal/write. Now, I've been trying to journal a little bit more just about days and what I'm thinking. I do write a lot, so I do get a lot of my work stuff built up here. I get it out and I get to talk about it, and it definitely is therapeutic. And when I'm writing a lot, I just feel better, right? So I haven't really got the journal part down though, but something you could even do something like a gratitude journal where they say, every morning write 3 things you're grateful for, every night, etc. You could do something like an end of day review, like Benjamin Franklin talked about, like what's something that went well, what's something that I could have done better, and like what's one thing I want to work on or whatever. Like there's a lot of these different practices that if you just create the habit around them and you make them your own, whatever way you want to do it, there is a lot of to be said for the mental state about just removing things from your mind. And they even say there's research around this, like psychologists, whatever. They say that writing something can help remove the thing from your mind. And as a result, remove some of that bouncing around anxiety or whatever, right? Sometimes just writing it out. You know how it is. Like you have a big decision and you're not sure what to do. Well, write a pro con list. Like you will feel so much more clarity by doing that than if you just let things up here like bounce around and like try to think about it and then keeps like showing up in your subconscious on a daily basis. That's the kind of stuff you want to avoid. You want to get to the point, and this will sum up the video. You want to get to a point where when you're doing something, you're doing one thing, you're in the moment, you're focused. Okay? You don't want all these thoughts coming in. And this can go all the way back to productivity and work and everything you do. Like when you leave work at the end of the day, you need to not think about work, let it go. And this is actually something I'm working on. I'm trying to figure out some kind of like wind down routine and or like end of day, maybe like a certain time where I'm not allowed to think or do anything outside that time. It's just family, it's reading, it's maybe watching a show or whatever, and that's it. And because sometimes like at night I might be like, I'm bored, I'll just work, right? And there's a maybe case to be made for doing that sometimes, because like it's not like it's work that I don't like. I do like doing what I do, but I think when you build the habits and almost like the productivity and mindfulness hygiene around this stuff, you do one thing at a time. You very much compartmentalize different ideas and things. And so that if you're not in the right setting or at work or at home or whatever, you shouldn't be thinking about something else. You should be like right there. All right. I know that was, to me, felt like I'm offering an overflow here. And I actually have a podcast I got to get to with Kevin Stock. Yep, I got 10 minutes. And so, get on subscribe to the AM podcast if you haven't, Ancestral Mind. You can find it on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google, all those places. There'll be a link below as well. And hop on my newsletter to get my articles every week, plus 2 of my favorite videos and 2 of my podcasts from the week over at colin.coach. If you have any recommendations for today's video about what could help other people, because remember, people read comments. They do. Offer it below because that will live there. And I also respond to almost every comment as long as I see it. I will see you in the next one. Again, thank you for watching and all the support. But please, please, please do something with this information. Even if it's just one thing. Just like one thing today. Like if you haven't taken a walk ever, then go take a walk. Just go take a walk. Go outside. It's so simple. See you in the next one.